Hello, and welcome to this amazing um, free course that Kwade has decided to give out. We're pretty excited. Thank you for sparing your time and um, signing up. We have been getting a lot of calls and messages that have been coming in, so we want to say thank you. I don't want to take much time. I'm just going to kickstart and get right into it. Today we're going to be using we're going to be having a slideshow, but also I'm going to be doing a lot of examples. Many of you could be familiar with the software we're going to be using, but the principles are the same. The principles are just the same. So whatever software we're going to use, just get to understand that the principles that we're going to go through are basically the same. So don't feel like you're going to be left out, or it's just that we're going to explain the same fundamental principles. So I will dive into it right now, and well, I'll start with a small introduction. I'm Andrew Ahura. I'm a sound engineer, I'm a composer, but I'm also the managing director of Quad A Records. And I also I'm certified by Dante. I'm also certified by Dolby. And I'm also certified in audio recording and audio post-production recording. And I have over 18 years worth of experience in this field, and I feel like it's about time for me to share the information that I've been getting over the years together with my comrade and my colleague, very amazing engineer Tony. Tony will be carrying the session tomorrow, but today I'll be taking you through the introduction of Final Mix. So who are we as Quad A Records? I will answer that question. We basically are an audio post-production facility based in Uganda, and what we do is we major in audio post-production for content creators. So this ranges, I'm going to break down what I'm saying, don't worry, but we're an audio post-production facility based in Uganda, and we handle the audio part of all the content that is created. So we're basically from production to post-production. That's the point that we normally handle, which is called audio post-production. Just work on my slides here. Okay. Our vision is basically we want to rebrand Africa. We want to rebrand Africa through sound. There's a lot of hysteria. There's a lot of the many things that have been going about Africa. Africa, we don't have what it takes. We can't get good audio out of Africa. Nothing great can come out of Africa. But we want to change that narrative. We want to change the way people think about Africa. One of the great movies that came that really gave us pride was Black Panther. But I believe there is a lot of talent, there is a lot of potential in Africa. And I mean, before we start Africa, we want to start within Uganda and East Africa. We want people to know that East Africa has what it takes. We can tell our stories properly, and we can do it very well. But before we need to learn the science and the technical parts for us to be able to tell people an amazing story. So what inspired this? What inspired our? Let me just give me a second. Let me just work on this. Okay. So what inspired what inspired us to do this course? We wanted to see content creators enhance their stories. We know that there are less big budgets that are coming out these days for both the production phase and post-production phase. We also realize that there's a great need by people who are distributing content. They need the creators to meet audio standards. So once those standards are not met, it's very difficult for them to buy your content. So we need to meet a certain standard. And we also realize that there are few specialized professionals in the audio post-production phase. There are many people understand production. We have boom operators, we have production mixers, but we do not have enough people in the audio post production. And so we wanted to shed more light and also show the many opportunities that are available in audio post production. And so we decided that we could share with you what these distributors are looking for, so that you can easily sell your content, and it is easily sellable because you'll be meeting their standards. And also we wanted to show people that, you can start a career in audio post-production. And also we wanted to share the workflow, the process. What process do you go through to make sure that you can have very audible content by the end of your production phase. So this is the story behind. And I remember before I started, I went home, and my parents, I went home to visit, and my parents were watching Pearl Magic. I will not name the show, but they were very, very, very happy. It was very, very interesting. Pearl Magic is a channel on DSTV, multi-choice. And they were very excited watching that show. But they kept on saying, we can't hear the dialogue. We don't seem to hear what they're saying. And the experience was beautiful, but it was cut in half because people they were not experiencing the full potential of the show. So I came back to work and discussed this with my colleagues and said, why don't we offer a training and just share some of the ideas we have, because we know that people want to tell their stories much better, but probably they do not have the technical know-how, or they don't know the workflow to make sure that their audio is audible. And so that's what inspired this whole training. And I'm really glad that you signed up, and I believe we're going to have a great time. Let me okay, I don't know why my slideshow is not working. Okay, there we go. I hope we can yes, this is good. I hope we can see this. Yes. So I've gone through this, and so audio post-production. What is audio post-production? And what is involved in audio post-production? So I just want to share with you the process. What process is involved in audio post-production? So we have dialogue. Dialogue is, of course, it can be dialogue or monologue. We can have a narrator speaking, or two people or more than two people speaking. In this case, I'm going to, because there are many content creators who are watching right now. So from films to TV shows to animations to games. So we have the interaction, human interaction. So we have that dialogue department. And the dialogue department is responsible for making sure that people can hear the story that is being told by the director. The next department that we have is the Foley department. Tony, my colleague Tony is going to break Foley down. That's tomorrow. But Foley is basically human interaction with objects. Me picking up a phone, me picking up a cup, and all that, all those different kind of things. That is Foley. Then we have sound effects. Sound effects are things that probably happen in the environment, like, for example, a car crash, an explosion, gun handling. So sometimes the sound effects department they share their workflow processes with Foley. So it's very important that there is a harmony between the Foley department and sound effects department. Then we also have backgrounds. Backgrounds is our environment. What environment are we in? In other words, when you're walking in the towns, what do you hear? You hear the car skidding. You hear, there are all these different kinds of sounds you hear that place the audience or the listener in that environment. So those are the backgrounds. Then, of course, we have music. Music enhances the emotion. Music enhances the feeling. You see, music is very manipulative, and it is used as a tool to enhance the story. You enhance the way people's emotions are driven in a specific scene. So music is also its own department, and so all these are different departments, and they are broken down to all these departments. They all work in correlation, and the last department I want to tackle is the dubbing and final mix, which we are going to expound on today. Dubbing, final mix is putting all these together into one bracket, putting dialogue, putting Foley, putting sound effects, putting background music together into what we call the soundtrack. So we call the soundtrack is not the music, no. The soundtrack is what is the combination of dialogue, Foley, sound effects, backgrounds, and music. So the process of putting all these things together is what we call dubbing. We either call it final mix or we will call it re-recording. And why we call it re-recording is because we go and record dialogue on set, we record Foley, we record backgrounds, we record music, we record sound effects, and at the end of this, we then re-record all these things into one file. That one file is what is distributed and given to the different distributors or the editors, who then render out the movie. And this is normally done in a dubbing stage. Dubbing stage looks like something like this. This is an immersive dubbing stage. This is where, because if you're creating content for a cinema, you need to mix the final product in a cinema, in a room that meets the required standards for a cinema. If you're mixing for home entertainment, you need to mix in an environment that suits home entertainment so that you're accurate. So these are the different processes that are in audio post-production. What are the objectives? What are the things that we want to make sure that are achieved at the end of this process? We want to make sure that we enhance the quality and the style of the existing audio track. So once we have an audio track that has been recorded probably on set, we want to make sure that we enhance its quality so that it meets the standards. The other objective is we want to balance levels. We want to make sure that dialogue is always king, that Foley, sound effects, they are not competing and fighting against each other. We also want to create an acoustic space. In other words, we want to position our objects. If we have someone walking from the left to the right, we want to make sure that that is positioned accurately. So that's the third objective. The fourth objective is that we want to establish oral perspective. In other words, how far, what's the distance between the people who are talking? Are they near the camera? Are they far? Are we seeing them in a wide shot? Are they in a close-up shot? So establishing perspective, that's the other objective. We want to preserve the clarity of each sound or group of sound. We want to make sure that it's clear. We can hear each element of sound. And something that maybe I could ship this in here. It's very important that we have separation. If I can just go back, it's important that we have separation of dialogue, Foley, sound effects, backgrounds, and music. Once we have separation of these, having separation creates a better experience because you have more control. But if all of these are captured at once, it's very hard to control. So if the more separation you have, the better your audio SoundBed, which is a soundtrack. So we want to be able to have clear sound, either of groups or groups of sounds. The other objective is we want to add special effects. We want to enhance the experience. I'm going to be playing for you later on. I'm going to be playing for you a short film. It was directed by Mr. Sharp Sewali, a very great director, and we're going to show you the before and after of what we did in the sound as we worked on the sound. We also want to, the other objective is we want to maintain sonic integrity of the overall audio. In other words, we want to make sure when someone is listening, it is as accurate as though you were there that day. If they were recording on set and you managed to go on set that day, the sound that they had that was on set that day, we want to be able to make sure that it's as real, as realistic as possible, so that someone feels immersed in that world. I mean, growing up from when you were born to the stage that you are, your brain has kept on keeping archives of destinations that you have been to. So if you go away from those destinations, unless you're working on maybe sci-fi, but if you're working on maybe a drama, an action film, you want to have sonic integrity, making sure that people can believe. You want people to believe that that is possible. Then the last objective is we want to keep the information and then we want to keep the sonic information, that is frequencies and dynamics. In other words, we want to make sure that when there's a gunshot, it is not too loud that it's going to blow up your ears, but it is relatively, it's at a relative position so that you don't get tired, you know, because normally content that is played for 1.5 hours, you can easily get ear fatigue. So we want to make sure that all the information is well balanced and the dynamic ranges are very stable. So these are the objectives of the audio post-production process. I want to briefly discuss the stages. What are the stages in audio, in the audio production process in film? We have production sound. Production sound, this is when you get the audio on set. You go on set to capture audio. So this is a very, very crucial part in production, because you have to go and capture the actor's performance on set. And this is normally done together by a production sound mixer and a boom operator. So in production, we have the sound mixer and the boom operator. These are the major people who work in the production phase. And then when you come to the second phase of audio, we have audio post-production. So in audio post-production, these are the people who are involved in audio post-production. We have the dialogue editor. The dialogue editor is responsible for editing both production sound and post-production sound dialogue, post-production dialogue. And we call post-production ADR. ADR is automatic dialogue replacement, automated dialogue replacement. And that is normally recorded in studio. For example, when you have had problems on set, there was noise in the microphone, and you want to replace that dialogue. You come back to studio and we re-record that dialogue so that it is audible. Remember, we want to be sonically integral so that we can have the listener enjoy the experience of watching our story. So the dialogue editor is responsible for all the dialogue, both from studio or from production. And we have also the ADR editor. The ADR editor is the one who covers the ADR. He's the one who records the ADR in studio, the dialogue in studio. That's the editor. He records it, then they edit it. The next person we have is the sound effects editor. The sound effects editor makes sure that they have all the special effects, sound effects that are needed for that content that you're preparing. They are responsible for even going in the field, capturing the sounds, and building a library of the specific sounds, special effects that are going to be used. Then we have backgrounds. There is someone who is specialized for backgrounds. They can go out and just listen to different environments. They can go to Zimbabwe and capture the market in Zimbabwe. They can go to the urban areas of Zimbabwe. They can go to the urban areas of Kenya or Uganda or the rural areas and capture those specific sounds and have a library, because people need these backgrounds to immerse the listener in those backgrounds. So we have someone dedicated to just creating and getting those backgrounds. Then we have what we call the Foley artist and the Foley mixer. Tony will be explaining and expounding on these roles more tomorrow. But the Foley artist's job is basically to create this Foley and make sure that the Foley, that the human interaction with the object is redone or replayed. Then and then the Foley mixer, of course, mixes. Then we have the music editor. The music editor is responsible for cueing, for saying, here we shall need music, here we'll need silence, here we need fast music, fast-paced music. In other words, he edits the music. He puts all the music, whether it is music that has been gotten by an artist, done by an artist or by a composer. The music editor is the one who sits and starts to arrange and edit the entire music bed. Then the music supervisor is the one who does the legal stuff. Is the one who writes contracts with maybe artists who are going to be singing who are going to be performing for that specific content that you're creating. Then of course we have the composer. The composer is the one who composes the original soundtrack, the original moods for that content. And a composer is very important because their job is to make sure that they can marry the two, that they can marry the emotion that you're seeing on screen with the music that they have created. And of course the last part that we have is the final mix and delivery. And the people that are responsible here, we have the re-recording mixer. This is the person who re-records all that has been recorded, the dialogue, the sound effects, the Foley, the backgrounds, the music, and puts it together into one file. We call that one the re-recording mixer. And then we have the restoration mixer. These are the people that, like for example, if a movie was mixed in maybe say stereo, and we want to restore it maybe to 5.1, they do restoration, but they can also clean up already made content, and they restore it to current standards. The other person that we have is the person that does the encoding and delivery. So they encode the movie to the different immersive formats. Like for example, Netflix can say we want our content delivered in Dolby Atmos, or we want our content delivered in SCE 5.1, Dolby Digital. So the encoding and delivery people put all this stuff together, and they encode. There's specific software that is designed to encode this so that you can meet the delivery specifications of where you're going to broadcast this. So these are the different career opportunities. I would call these are the different career opportunities that one could have. If you want to work in production, you could just be a boom operator, or you could just be a production sound mixer, just to capture the dialogue on set. If you want to come in audio post-production, you can become a dialogue editor, ADR editor, sound effects editor, backgrounds, Foley artist, Foley mixer, music editor, music supervisor, or composer. If you want to specialize in the later on in the final mix, you can become a re-recording mixer, restoration mixer, or a coding or delivery expert. And all these different these are all different career opportunities that are available for you to choose from. So you don't need to just be in one field of production. There is many other different fields in the audio process that you can be a part of. So let's trickle down to re-recording and dubbing. We want to discuss with you the workflow of re-recording and dubbing. What is involved when we are re-recording? Because this was the major, because many of you who are watching right now could maybe have an idea about dialogue. You have an idea about all these things Foley, or you have heard about them. But we wanted to just mention this for other people who may not know. But we want to explain this very crucial process that happens at the end of all the entire production process. We want to explain and have an in-depth of what is involved in that final process, which is called re-recording or dubbing. So when we whatever software we have, we have, for example, the industry standard right now is Pro Tools. Pro Tools is the industry standard, and some people use Adobe Audition, others use Logic, but the industry standard is Pro Tools. So if you're out there and you're listening to me, it's very, very important that you save up some money and buy a license for Pro Tools. It's the industry standard. It's the lingo that people use. So what happens in when we are starting? What happens is we start by importing. So after the editor has finished editing and the director has agreed on the final cut, the editor creates what we call an OMF file or an AAF file. That file contains all the dialogue tracks of the actors or all the dialogue tracks that are needed for whatever content you're preparing. Every software that is used for video editing has this option: export AAF or export OMF. So when they give the audio post-production people this file, the dialogue editor gets that OMF and imports it into his session. I'm going to show you how to do that in Pro Tools. After importing, the person creating, for example, in this case, we'll talk about the dialogue editor. The dialogue editor, so the dialogue editor at this point would have already done all this work, but now because we're focusing on re-recording, at this point we're thinking about importing that information from the dialogue editor, from the Foley artists, from the background people, from the music people. So we import still that AAF and OMF into our session, our Pro Tools session. Now remember, I want to be clear. We're going to have a question and answer session in the last 30 minutes, last 20-30 minutes of this. So you could please keep asking your questions in the section, in the comment section, and we shall answer those in case you have not understood anything, and we'll be answering some of those questions. But so the process is, you have the dialogue editor receiving dialogue from the video editor, but and from the Foley person also gets their content from the editor. So the editor gets that video and gives it to the audio post-production facility. So all these different departments, dialogue, Foley, backgrounds, SFX, music, get a copy of that file, that OMF file. Of course, it comes with also the video. And they begin to create their different sessions. So when they are finished doing all their different work, then we go to us, the re-recording people, who are at the end, and we import all these people's work that they have done and put it together. So we import the AF, we set up and arrange our session. We then do what we call routing. Routing is making sure that the dialogue people are routed, because there are many actors. You can have about 16 tracks. I'll show you what I'm talking about. You can have 16 actors. So you cannot have all the 16 actors independent. You have to route them into one dialogue channel. So you have all these different dialogue channels and you route them to one dialogue channel. You have all these Foley, all these props, phone, keys, all these different things, and you all route them to Foley. Same applies to the rest. So after we have routed, we then do what we call calibration. It's very important for you to calibrate your speakers. Calibration is making sure that your speakers are responding in the right way they're supposed to respond to the right volume, because you want to make sure that your audio is consistent throughout. It is consistent from the studio to the home to the cinema, wherever the people are. We are going to be seeing the project. After this slideshow, I'm going to be discussing the project. I'm going to show you the project to show you all these different processes. So when we calibrate, we are making sure that our speakers are at the same loudness level that people are going to experience in their homes or going to experience in the cinema. This is a very, 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 I can't stress this enough. You need to calibrate your speakers. Make sure that your speakers are calibrated. And how do you do that? We use a sound pressure level meter. Something like this. This is called a sound pressure level meter. You can import this from eBay. So what it tells you is the amount of pressure coming out from your speaker. And we use pink noise. We generate pink noise in each of the speakers and make sure that for theatrical is cinema. For cinema, we make sure that our meter reads 82. 82. Now, I realize that many of you may not have access to this, and because you may not have access to that, you can download something like this. It is called Sound Pressure Level Meter. It's an app on iTunes, on Apple, and also on Android. So the sound pressure level meter looks something like this. So once you get it, you can use your phone. Instead of buying something like this, you then use your phone. You use your phone because your phone has a microphone on it, and you use pink noise from each of the speakers and calibrate your speakers so that it is consistent and it's at the same level. So that is the sound pressure level meter. So after calibrating, so make sure as you calibrate for theatrical, make sure that your meter is reading 82 decibels. 82 decibels. And once you have 82 decibels from each speaker, make sure that each speaker, don't do all the speakers at once. Put pink noise or use an oscillator, and once you have done that, make sure that at the mixing position, say where I'm seated, my speakers are right here. Where I'm seated, get your phone or your SPL meter and make sure that you turn it towards the speaker. And make sure that that speaker is reading 82 decibels or 79 for internet or TV or home entertainment. So once you have done that, you are able to, you're guaranteed that people are going to hear the same volume elsewhere. They'll hear that volume in the theaters. They'll hear that volume on the TVs. This is a very, very crucial step in this audio in re-recording and mixing. Then the next level, after you have set up, you have routed, make sure, then we start to level. Make sure that the dialogue, the Foley are all working in harmony. They are all working together. And we are panning. Panning is basically putting things in the right acoustic space. If it's left, it's left. If it's right, it's right. Then, of course, we then have perspective. Perspective is the z-axis. Are they far from the camera or are they inside the camera? What is the distance between? And once you know that distance, we use reverbs. We use reverbs to help add perspective with the objects or whatever we are working with. So that's after leveling and panning. After that, we go to automation. Automation is simply giving the computer instructions to do some jobs for you. For example, you can tell the software that at time X, I want you to increase this actor by 5 dB. So that instruction is what we call automation. So you need to keep on automating throughout so that your hands free, you're not always mixing the movie, but the software can understand the dynamics as you work through and mix. Then after the process, we come to the last. And of course, as you meter, make sure that your root mean square, your RMS is minus 24 dB. In other words, many people say that true peak, I'm going to show you all these different things. When dialogue is the main important thing in any content that you're creating, we need to hear what you're talking about. So the dialogue should always be the king, and it is what we mix around. Dialogue is the king of in this whole entire recording process. So everything works around dialogue. So dialogue is the one that tells us how loud our movie needs to be. And at minus 24 dB full scale loudness units, once we have dialogue hitting this threshold, we will normally meet the standards that people, the distributors or the content people, the people who are buying the content need. And of course, the full mix, the entire mix, should never exceed minus 2 dB. It should never reach -1 or clip at 0 dB. It always, for any content that you're creating, it always has to peak at -2 dB. So that is when we're doing the metering. And of course, then we print and re-record and mix the entire show. At this point, I want to play for you this clip I've been talking about. There is this clip. It is from the very good director, Mr. Sharp Sewali. I'm just going to play for you this clip. It's going to run its course, and we are going to discuss an in-depth. So this is Pro Tools. This is how Pro Tools looks like. And already I have imported in my dialogue, and it's very important that you color code all your work. Dialogue is, you can see dialogue is in red. My Foley is in yellow, and my props are in green. My sound effects are in brown. My backgrounds are in pink, and my music is in this green. And then of course I have my reference movies. I have other movies that I put in so that we can keep on comparing the different standards. So let me play for you this clip, and as I play it, I'm going to be comparing the original sound that the editor did from his edit suite and what we did after. I'll just be alternating them. But let me just play you the clip.
The DNA test proved that the child was not ours, which meant that...
So let me start with what the editor gave us, the sound that the editor gave us.
The DNA test proved that the child was not ours, which meant that my baby is alive somewhere.
I'm really sorry. I thought I packed everything up. Just hurry up with this.
Okay, so right now I'm going to play you what we did.
The DNA test proved that the child was not ours, which meant that
My baby is alive somewhere. I just want my baby back.
Boss, I'm really sorry. I thought I packed the spy camera. I'll be right back. Cecia, sorry. Where's the bag? In the bag.
Now that's
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
Well,
now because we're going to cover dialogue today, in the next probably minutes that we have, I'm just going to be focusing on dialogue. So probably I'm going to start from here, but you can hear the contrast and difference between what the editor had given us and what we were able to achieve after doing separation of all the different elements. So before maybe I start like this, people are asking about pink noise, and people are asking about pink noise. So let me just show you quickly what needs to be done. It's very important for you. Pink noise can be, now for example, like in Pro Tools, many or even Adobe Audition or Logic, they normally have what we call oscillators. So what you do is create a new track, a new audio track, and it's mono. It's a mono audio track. It's an audio track. In this case, let me put it on an auxiliary. And so what happens is that I get what we call an oscillator. An oscillator is a plugin. It's a plugin that creates all the frequencies. You know, the human ear. The human ear listens, hears. The human ear hears from about 20 hertz to about 20 kilohertz. I think it was Lillian. Lillian was asking what is pink noise. So I just want to explain that. So from about 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, that's the range of the human ear. Of course, when you're a baby, you can hear about 19 kilohertz, 18 kilohertz. But as you grow older, your hearing begins to come to 16 kilohertz and what. So, but when pink noise plays all these different frequencies at once. It pushes them out of the speakers at once. So it's done by a plugin that is called an oscillator, and I'm going to show it to you and how it looks like in Pro Tools. So in Pro Tools it looks like something like this. I'll just go here, plugin, Avid oscillator. Where's my oscillator? Where's my oscillator? Effects. Noise. I think it's in, isn't it in noise? Pardon me. Oh, signal generator. Here we go. Sorry. Signal generator. So let me just put this off for now. Sorry, that was one frequency. That was 1 kilohertz. So it looks something like this. It's a signal generator, or others call it oscillator. But this creates all the frequencies at once. So what we want to do right now is we want pink noise. We change it to pink noise. So pink noise sounds something like this. So when you play that, you have to play it in and route to your left speaker and play the pink noise. And make sure that you reduce your level to about 20 decibels, 20 dB, because you want to have enough headroom. You don't want to put the pink noise at 0 dB and it's too loud. You don't want it to be so loud. So you want it to be at -20, so you have enough headroom of mixing. So at 20 dB, you can play the pink noise and sound something like that. So you play that pink noise in your left speaker and you play the pink noise in your right speaker. And once you have calibrated your speakers and they are all reading, remember that as you play the pink noise, you have your SPL meter, or you have your phone. Make sure you download that app. If you don't have access to an SPL meter, go to the iTunes store. Is it the Apple store? And download SPL. Some of them are free. And download the SPL meter, or go to the Android store and download that SPL meter. I remember I showed it to you. It looks something like this, something like that. So once you have that SPL meter, you sit at the mixing position, play the pink noise in this speaker, and make sure that on here it's reading 82. It reads 82 if you're going to work on if you're mixing for cinema. It should read 79 if you're going to mix for TV, broadcast, anything at home entertainment, 79. And it should be, and other things that you need to input is the weighting. I don't want, later on we are going to be offering internships and internship for people to come and work with us. And also we shall have paid courses that we're going to put out so that you get an in-depth of some of this lingo. Like for example, weighting. The weighting has to be C weighted. C weighting is the frequency bands that you are going to activate. And so it has to be C weighted, slow response, and it should read 79 for home or TV or internet, or it should read 82 for cinema if you want to mix for cinema. So the pink noise comes from each of the speakers. Calibrate each. Don't calibrate both of them. So back to our short movie Reporter. So this is let's imagine we have finished calibrating our system, and I wanted to focus on dialogue. I wanted to focus on dialogue. So, as I mentioned earlier, the dialogue editor has finished their work. They have recorded ADR, they have edited the ADR, and they have sent it to the re-recording mixer. So, as I said, I first have to import the session, the OMF of dialogue within this, within my session, and it looks something like this. Let me just try and expand this. Hide this. So these are my dialogue tracks. When you are importing them, all my red, this is the dialogue. This is the dialogue lines that have been imported from my dialogue editor. And I later on I created other tracks and gave the actors the tracks names. This was Anthony, either Anthony inside, Anthony outside. So I put the dialogue tracks on their individual spaces like this. This is how they look like. So all this is ADR. Now let me play for you what the dialogue sounds like from the editor, and play for you what the dialogue is like after we have worked on it.
I see. Sorry. Where's the bag? Back.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
Well, yeah.
Have you ever been a scout?
Pardon?
A scout. Scouting. Have you ever been one?
Yes, long time ago, primary school.
You remember the scout's motto?
Be prepared, yes.
Be prepared. Thank you. You see, Mike, the work we do is all about good instinct and timing and preparation. If you're not prepared when a story breaks, someone else gets the scoop. And sometimes...
I know. And I'm really sorry.
Okay, so let me play that back with what we did, just to show you how much separation we had.
Yes, yeah. Sorry. Where's the bag? In the bag.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
Well, yeah.
Have you ever been a scout?
Pardon?
A scout. Scouting. Have you ever been one?
Yes, long time ago, primary school.
Remember the scout's motto?
Be prepared, yes.
Be prepared.
Let me play for you
You see, Mike,
the original.
the work is all about good instinct and timing and preparation. If you're not prepared when a story breaks, someone else gets the scoop. And sometimes...
I know.
Then what we did,
Sometimes lack of preparation might cost us more than just a story. You see, the people that we're dealing with, they may not seem dangerous right now.
yeah. So I hope you can hear the difference. You sort of pull the audience in. You sort of pull the audience in, and there is more clarity in what they're saying. You're following the story much more. And just for me to just mention just a few points on dialogue and what we want to achieve in the dialogue part. So the point of what are the objectives? Why do we work on? Why do we have someone specialized just to work on dialogue? We want to have clarity. We want to make sure that the person can hear, that the audience can hear what the story is. We also want smooth transitions. We want smooth transitions between one scene to the next. You don't want there to be drastic cuts. You want to have dynamics. When someone is angry, you want to be able to hear their anger. And at the same time, when someone is whispering, you want to be able to hear that whisper. And sometimes it's very hard to get a whisper on set unless you're recording in a very, very quiet room. So sometimes that's why we do ADR, to make sure that we can get that dynamic of someone whispering. We also want to have focus. We want to make sure that people can focus on the story and then they are not distracted by maybe the bugs. You had in the original, there were many bugs that were going on. And you also want to make sure we have perspective and that people know how far people are, the distance. And that can be done by the dialogue editor. So if you noticed, we had to redo ADR. We did ADR for the film, this short film that we're watching. And the objective was there was some technical issues. In other words, there were some things that, like for example, he was holding the bag and the bag was entering his dialogue. Sometimes it's very hard for you to hear me talking, like when I am talking while clapping, it's hard. But if I can reduce this clap and you can hear me more clearly. So there were some technical issues where the environment, the Foley was affecting the dialogue. So that's why we had to do ADR. We also wanted to enhance the performance. And you can notice from the clip I played, Anthony's performance. Anthony is the guy in red, the guy seated in the car. Anthony's performance was enhanced. He sounded, he was more authoritative. And he sounded much more confident in his delivery. The other thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to enhance the story itself. We wanted to make sure that that the people watching the story are within. They know they can get to hear this in a deeper understanding. Like for example, Mr. Sharp Sewali wanted this to just enhance it, to just make people feel like this was an investigator who knew his craft. So we wanted to enhance the story. Okay. Then we want, like, off mic sounds like, for example, if you have a narrative, you're telling a story and you're making sure that you want people to people to hear a story of someone who may not be on screen. That's why we use ADR. So we use ADR to make sure that people who probably were not captured, people who are not probably captured, are now captured. Like they were off screen. Now we do ADR so that you can capture them and they are part of the story. And sometimes you don't get that stuff on set. We have dialogue overlaps, people talking over each other. So sometimes it's very hard for you to capture it on set, people talking over each other. So it's very important people come back to studio, then we record those overlaps. sometimes you have bad acting, not in this case, but sometimes for us to do ADR, the actor really acts badly, they don't bring out their lines well, so the director decides to do ADR to cover up those gaps. Sometimes the additional lines that the director probably would want to put, and that's why we would then use ADR. Then there could be sometimes too much noise captured on set, and so you get to have people to come back to studio so that we can record it in a more controlled environment, because once you don't have a controlled environment, it is very, very hard for you for the listener to hear the story very well. Then, of course, sometimes the boom operator, or I mean the production sound mixer, may have hard sound that distorted, and that's why we do distortion. That's why we do ADR, because the audio has distorted. Then sometimes there are hums and buzzes. The buzzes are so much someone recorded on set, and because they recorded on set, there are hums, and because of those hums, we have to come back to studio and re-record. So these are the main objectives to why we do ADR. We have to come back to studio. So if any of these technical issues, performance, storytelling, off-mic sounds, dialogue overlaps, bad acting, additional lines, high ambient noise, distortion, hums or buzzes is in your dialogue, you need, please listen to me, you need your dialogue editor to do ADR, so that people can get more drawn in, so that they can be clarity. They can be clarity. They can be smooth transition, dynamics, focus, perspective. All these are very important. So I'm going to briefly show you how a re-recording engineer approaches dialogue. Now I'm going to play for you how the dialogue editor, what the dialogue editor did, and I'm going to break that process down for you to understand what is needed for you to make sure you have smooth dialogue happening. Let's go to Pro Tools. Now, just try and push this out of the way. Now, let's look at this line. Let's get this section. No.
Vetted out.
Here. So I'm going to focus on this dialogue in the dialogue between Anthony and Mike. Mike is the guy who is behind the car with the camera. So this is.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
That's Anthony.
Have you ever been a scout? A scout? Scouting. Have you ever been one? Remember the Scouts motto? Be prepared.
Okay, so let's just talk about this ADR. So this was done in studio. So let me try and take off every effect that we put on Anthony, so that you hear the raw work.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
So this is how it sounds without any processing.
Have you ever been a scout? A scout. Scouting. Have you ever been one? Remember the Scouts motto?
Okay, so that is Anthony without him being processed. Now, let's start processing him so that people can believe that he is in there. Now we're working with ADR. This is not production sound. Later on, I'm going to show you how to tackle production sound in case production sound was well captured on set and it sounds good. Now I'm starting with ADR because it's more technical. Now, this is Anthony, and
Are you in the same codes that you were in?
so what we want to do is make sure that we remove any noise. There is this so the software that we normally use is called Waves. The plugins that we normally use are Waves plugins. So if you want to start a career in re-recording, the things that you need to have Pro Tools, but you also need to buy the Waves plugins. Under the Waves plugins, we have WNS. WNS is a noise suppressor. It reduces the noise, any noise, because even as we record ADR, sometimes there could be noise in that controlled space, just little noise. And so we use the WNS to take out noise. It's very, very good. It takes out noise very, very well. Let me just play this scene for you again, without it and with it.
You were in yesterday?
This is without it.
Have you ever been a scout?
Now, with it,
A scout? Scouting. Have you ever been one?
so it also changes the tonal character of Anthony, and it takes out some of his low end, because there was some low noise that was coming in here. So you keep on reducing the areas that have noise, that you hear have noise. Let's play that again. This is with it on.
Are you in the same codes that you were in yesterday?
You hear how less
Are
noise
you
it
in the
is?
same codes that you were in yesterday?
Without it.
Are you in the same codes that you were in yesterday?
Okay, so that is a very, very crucial point. And also, you can use this also if you're working on production sound, WNS, yes. And then, of course, we wanted to EQ his voice and take out a lot of top end. You know, in the real world, when you want to make someone sound, close to you, someone close to you, you can hear the top end. You remember I told you that human ears hear from 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz. Now, 20 kilohertz, that region is the top end, is the high frequencies. In the middle there, from about 2000 Hz and to about 400, those are the mid frequencies. Then from 500, 400 downwards, those are the low frequencies. And the low frequencies, I'll show you this from here. So this is the frequency spectrum I was talking about. So the human ear hears from 20 Hz to about 20 kilohertz here. So this side, about here, these are the low frequencies, these are the mid frequencies, and these are the high frequencies. So when someone is near you, you want to make sure when someone is near you, you can hear their top frequencies. When someone is far from you, you don't hear their top frequencies as much. So you hear more of their mid frequencies and their low frequencies. So if you know how to work and play with frequencies like that, it can help you give more perspective. Now, when you do ADR, normally ADR, you use high-end microphones that capture top frequencies, high frequencies. So you want to make sure you can control them, and that's why you are seeing this EQ curve like this. We cut out some top frequencies out of the mic, and also cut out some low frequencies, and cut out some mid frequencies so that you can still hear him more clearly. Let me play that so you can hear that again.
Are you in the same codes that you were in yesterday?
Without it?
Are you in the same codes that you were in yesterday?
With it?
Are you in the same codes that you were in yesterday?
So you can hear the difference. It makes him a little bit smaller and quite far, not like you being near from his mouth or near his mouth. And another thing, another plugin that we normally use is de-esser. A de-esser is used to take out S's.
Are you in the same codes that you were in
If you
yesterday?
can look at without it, you can hear there's a lot of S. Well, are in the same. There's a lot of S's. So we use a de-esser to take out those S's. You listen to the track without a de-esser and with a de-esser. Now this is without the de-esser.
Are you in the same codes that you were in yesterday?
Now with a de-esser,
Are you in the same codes that you were in yesterday?
again.
Are you in the same codes that you were in yesterday?
Let me overdo it so you really feel it's what it does.
Are you in the same codes that you were in yesterday?
You can hear the difference, that difference, huh?
Are you in the same codes that you were in yesterday?
So if you want to take
Are you
out
in the same codes that you were in yesterday?
those S's can irritate. They can irritate too many times. If people are always hearing, are you in the same, it hurts. Especially, imagine you're playing your movie in cinema, and cinema has very big speakers, and you're hearing those S's for 1 hour and 45 minutes. It can cause ear fatigue. So you want to control those S's using a de-esser. Then the last thing on our chain is what we give. It's called Altivab. Altivab is a very, very good software that is used to give perspective. It's like a reverb. It's a reverb software. It's also, you can buy this from online by guys called Audio Ease. Audio Ease, they specialize in post-production software, and it is very, very. It's normally used in post-production. It's a reverb that is used in post-production. It's called Altivab, and so you use it to place people within those environments, and of course you work with how much effect you want of it to be. So let me put it in and put it out.
Are you in the same codes that you were in yesterday?
That's without. Then with it,
Are you in the same codes that you were in yesterday?
you hear how he all of a sudden enters the car. This car.
Are you in the same codes that you were in yesterday? Are you in the same codes that you were in yesterday? Are you
Okay.
in the same codes that you were in yesterday?
So that basically that's how we treat ADR. ADR. So we EQ it just to give more perspective. We EQ it just to give more perspective to the listener, and just to take out that top end. Then after that we remove any noise. So we start by remove any noise using this WNS plugin, very beautiful plugin. Then we use an EQ, any EQ. Take out the bottom end that may be rammed, unless you're working on a voice that sounds like God. Then maybe you may need some of these low frequencies. But an average men's frequencies normally are from 120 going upwards in the low end. So you want to cut out things that are not in that region. And then you want to take out top end that is in there that is too bright because of using microphones that are highly sensitive in that region. Then of course you can keep on doing EQs until it's right. Then the other plugin is a de-esser. a deesser to take out those S's that irritate. Then the other thing that you do is using altiverb to just give perspective and placing people in those environments. So that is normally the chain of ADR. And so
Are you in the same course that you were in yesterday?
so playing it with every other thing.
Are you in the same course that you were in? Are you in the same course that you were in yesterday?
Play it again.
Are you in the same course that you were in yesterday?
Well, yeah.
Have you ever been a scout?
Yeah. So that is how we handle ADR. Now quickly, I want to show you how to handle production sound. So let's say the production sound was well recorded. And there were no problems. So this is how it would come from the editor.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday? Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
Now, normally on set, the person, the production mixer, the one who records the sound on set, they normally record what we call room tone. It's like 1 minute of empty space, of just how that room sounds. So what happens is that if in case this dialogue sounds good, like let's see, let's go back to.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
There's this.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
So these were different options. There was a lapel and a boom. All these are different options.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
So all these are different mics. Of course, you would choose. Let's go with maybe this. This sounds much
Are
clearer.
you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
Let's try and listen to this one.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
This one has some noise in it. So this would be much better in terms of choice.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
So let's go with this line. So what you would want to do is you would create another track below, track. And it's of course a mono track. You'd create an audio track below, and we're going to call that track room tone. And so what we want to do in this case, we did not get a room tone file. So sometimes you may have a scenario where the production mixer maybe forgot to record room tone. So normally this is what you would do. You would then have to let's see. Yeah, I hope that's clearer. So what would happen then is you would then you'd look for silent parts of like this. Okay, that has a bit of noise. Let's try to look for this maybe here.
Well, yeah.
So, okay, let's imagine this is a silent part. I don't know if I have something clearer. Let's see, maybe behind here. Okay, clearly this has some scuffle. Let me just color code this differently. Let me give it red to show its room tone. Let's maybe hear this.
Are you in the same?
Okay, so ideally you're supposed to get room tone from the silent parts that, let me try and increase this so it sees. You would probably get room tone from quiet parts, from the quiet parts sections. This is why it's very difficult. So I would come, split this to mono. So what I would do is I would basically get that and put that under here to just cover to cover for me and to cover that space between the empty spaces of dialogue. So you'd have something like
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
we'll play these two together plus a room tone.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
Put it back.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
You hear that? So it's not advisable to loop to do this. This is wrong. You can't do this for room tone. Otherwise, it sounds something like this.
Yesterday.
Have you heard that? It's like there's a machine going on. So that's why it's very important to get room tone from the production mixer, because you then put room tone under here to hold that space. So as you wait for the next person, the next actor, now in this case it would be, so this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. I would then get maybe from another space, maybe say this. Then I would also maybe get from maybe, let's assume this was also an empty space without any noise. So I'd get something. Okay, you hear there is some noise in there. But if we had room tone would be used to be put here. Then we would go to the next actor, who is Mike, right here. Okay, Mike has a good room tone right here. Let's say we get this room tone, maybe put it here and take this, remove this. So
You're in the same clothes you were in yesterday.
put this so.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
Well,
So this room tone is very, very crucial to create consistency. Otherwise, without room tone, this is what it sounds like.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
well,
So you hear that space. There's dead space here, and that dead space is not good. Imagine you're in cinema and you're hearing a movie and they're talking, are in the same room, then you hear it going off. That's not nice. So we use room tone, put under here, and you just put it at the place between actors lines. And never loop room tone, because people can hear it being looped. Never, never, ever loop room tone. Room tone is never supposed to be looped. So that would be the way we would work with production when I'm mixing. So let's imagine that this would be production sound was well done. Our room tone, for now, let's just use this room tone here, because we don't have room tone for this movie. Let's just imagine I've put room tone here. See.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
Let's play that.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
well,
And that's why it's also, again, it's very important that you choose takes that are consistent, because now you're hearing this take here. This take here is different from this Mike's take up here. It has a different tonal character. So it's very, very important that you choose the right takes. You choose takes that are right, and use they were having the same tonal qualities. Otherwise, we wouldn't use this take. We would use this take.
You're in the same clothes you were in yesterday.
well,
But you clearly see that this take was Mike's. It was for Michael's. I think this was Michael's lapel. This was Michael's lapel. So that's why Anthony sounds very far in this. You hear that? He sounds far. So we would get something that matches Mike here. Let's look at this other text.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
That sounds different.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
Maybe let's try this with this room tone and with Mike up here.
Are you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
Well,
So the problem is that we don't have another take of Michael. If we had another take of Michael, we would compare and make sure that there's a smooth transition between this into the room tone into maybe another Michael take. So it's very important that the video editor gives you all the different camera options. I'm sorry, not camera options. All the different dialogue options. Probably lapel, boom. All those options should be within so that you're the person who makes the decision so that it is smooth. Yeah? So that is very, very, very crucial in us having creating
Are
consistency.
you in the same clothes that you were in yesterday?
well,
Yeah. So now, understanding these technical difficulties, that's why the director opted that we do ADR, because he realized that it would be very hard. It would be very hard for us to create consistency because you see we didn't have room tone, and also the mics sound different. So because of all those different problems, the director said, you know what, let's do ADR. And so with ADR, that's how we treated it. And finally with ADR, it sounds something like this. So let's remove these. Let's remove those and go to our ADR. So this is our ADR. This is what we recorded in studio. And so this scene sounds like this.
Cecia, sorry. Where's the bag?
Back.
Just wait a minute. I need to mute all these. Need to mute all these and remove them. Okay, then play this again.
Cecia, sorry. Where's the bag? In the bag.
So just to show you that Mike's performance in ADR was beautiful. He even breathes. Just listen to this.
Cecia, sorry. Where's the bag? In the bag.
So you see, with ADR, we can even get that breath. You can get him breathing. It's more controlled. And so it's very, I think that's why many Hollywood and other industries prefer ADR, because you enhance the actor's performance. Yeah?
Cecia, sorry. Where's the bag? In the bag.
Yeah, so that gives you an idea of the of ADR. And just to wrap this up, I just want to show you what I meant by routing. So if you see all this part right here, this part right here, these are my dialogue tracks. These are my actors. All my actors, I'm going to give them one color, this red color. So all my actors are in red, and they're all being routed to an auxiliary called DX. And meanwhile, Another thing I didn't mention is that also for ADR you need room tone, but these room tones can be artificial. Like for example, here we use this room tone. You may need to crank up your volume in your headphones. And this is, I wish I'd said this at the beginning, please use headphones or studio grade speakers to listen to this class. So that's my room tone. That's the room tone that our dialogue editor put. And so when that is playing, when this room tone is playing over this, it sounds like this.
Cecia, sorry. Where's the bag? In the bag.
Yeah. So all of my dialogue, all my dialogue tracks, all my actors are being routed to an auxiliary called DX. DX is here. It's at the end of my chain right here. Let me take, let's see. It's being routed here. This is and meanwhile this session was mixed in 5.1. 5.1 we can get, we're going to be offering in-depth courses on how to mix in 5.1, and also we'll have internship classes to show people, people want to work with us, who want to work with Quad A. You'll get to learn how to mix in 5.1 and Dolby Atmos. But this session was in 5.1. So this bus, this auxiliary right here is a 5.1 auxiliary. And all my dialogue is entering here.
Cecia,
It's in the center
sorry.
channel.
Where's the bag? In the bag.
So if let me mute, these are my effects. All my effects are coming here. All my music is coming here. And all of these three, they are sending to this main output right now. It's the complete, it's the one that gets all these three. So from my dialogue enters here. All my Foley, SFX, everything enters here. And all my music enters here. And from here, they all go to this. Let me change the color of this so it stands out. They all go to this. Let me just go back. They go to this bus here called comp. So my dialogue, my sound effects, my music are all being routed to this main guy. So when I play
Cecia,
dialogue, it's just dialogue.
sorry. Where's the bag? In the bag.
Okay. So I hope this has given you it's a quick start. We just wanted to cover how to prepare your session, how to get the session from all the departments, dialogue, Foley, SFX, but today we are focusing on dialogue and ADR, how to put them, what tools to use to make sure that they sound amazing, and from there, how to route, how things are being routed. And on Friday, we shall be covering how to print and how to make sure that everything is coherent. Tomorrow, we shall be covering Foley and SFX. Right now, I want us to jump into questions. Are there people with any questions? Someone, Ben, I think it's Ben. Ben is asking what software we are using. This is Pro Tools. We're using Pro Tools Ultimate. Pro Tools Ultimate is the HD version of Pro Tools is the HD version of Avid. Pro Tools is the industry standard for working in when you're doing audio post-production. This is the standard software that you need to use. It is what is used across the world. So it is it is Pro Tools. It's the software we are using. Let's see. Then another question. Let's see if we have another question. Do we have any other questions? Which mics we would recommend? I think this was, the mics we would recommend was from who? Someone asks which mics we would use. The mic that is very important, that is being used is a Sennheiser mic. I forget, I think it is 416. Sennheiser 416, it's one of the best mics, and Rode NTG. Rode NTG3. Rode NTG3, Rode NTG2, and Sennheiser for the people doing production. Those are amazing microphones. And people have done many tests with them and have found a very good, they have been they have captured the voice, the dialogue very accurately. So I would really suggest that you use the Rode NTG3, NTG2, and Sennheiser 416. Those are very good microphones to use. Other questions by Mugisha Arnold is asking, if you are working with a limited budget, are you required to have knowledge of all your audio post-production roles, or you have to get an extra pair of hands to help? Mugisha, it is very important to get an extra hand. Even when you're working alone, at least be 2 people and specialize in the different aspects. Because you see, if you're one person, if you're covering dialogue, you're covering Foley, you're covering music, you're covering SFX, you're covering backgrounds, and then after you're going to do the final mix, it is too much, especially if you're working, say, on a feature film. If you're working on a short film, I wouldn't advise it, but it's doable. If you're working on a documentary, something very small, it's okay, you can do it, you can go ahead and do it. But I would advise at least get at least 5 people that you can collaborate with, talk to the director to see what can be done, so that it is easier for you to have those roles distributed. Now, I understand that sometimes people don't have those budgets, and if you're really suffering with budget, make sure that you are involved at the production phase. If you don't have a budget, make sure during production, the production mixer gets the sound with the best microphones and gets the sound accurately, so that you can avoid doing a lot of audio post-production, you can avoid ADR, you can avoid doing many of these different things. So make sure that you are involved, even at pre-production, choosing the right locations. Make sure that you are involved with the director early on, so that you avoid a lot of work. Because I truly hear you. People don't have budgets to come and pay a whole facility sometimes. And so sometimes you have to work on all these things alone. So make sure that you're involved in audio post-production and use some of these tips that we have given. EQ your stuff well. Make sure you have enough room tone, and make sure that it's consistent. And I think you'll have a good product. Another question, I hope I've answered that well. Another question is Robert. Robert is asking about ADR or dialogue recording. What type of mic do we need to use while recording? So when you're recording ADR in the studio, it's very important you use the same mic that's used on set. That is if you're going to be mixing a lot of production sound with ADR. So to create that consistency, and I think I showed you, sometimes you're inconsistent if you use different kind of microphones. You'll have to do a lot of EQing, reducing frequencies to kind of match the production sound. So use the exact microphone that you used on set. Use it when you're recording ADR so that you can have a harmonious flow of dialogue on the entire bed. Does anyone have another question? Are there any other questions? Maybe as we are waiting for any more questions, I just want to. There are many opportunities at the studio that are coming up. If you're interested in working together with us or signing up with us, please send us an email to records with your CV, with what your work experience has been, and we will be able to evaluate. We have a 6-month intensive program that we take people through, and we train people to become specialized sound engineers. And so we encourage you, if you want to specialize in audio post-production, please send us an email with your CV, your work experience, and we can have a meeting with you and we can get to know and break this in depth. Someone else has a question. In Premiere Pro to Pro Tools. Okay, so in Premiere Pro, when you're exporting AAF or OMF, Kigosi Charles is asking, Kasozi Charles is asking, how do you export AAF files from Premiere to Pro Tools? So it's simply, you go to File and go to the export section. And when you go to the export section, you can, once you click export, it brings you an option, OMF or AAF. So you click that. So that will be exporting all your audio tracks. It will be exporting all your audio tracks. And for us, once that process is done, then for us, audio post-production, we get that and put it into Pro Tools. So just go to File and Export and look for OMF or AAF and export it with a sample rate. Normally the sample rate we use for film is 48 kilohertz. Do that and we will be able, whoever is going to work on your audio will be able to use that and would be able to use that OMF to do the audio post-production. Another question by Mr. Steven, is it Stefan? He's asking, oh, is he asking? I think he's trying to find out about animation, and I think most of the things we have discussed today can also apply for TV, animation, and all these other things. Whatever we have discussed today, that is how they record animations for cartoons. This is what basically, what I've explained today, ADR, is what they normally do when they're capturing things for animations, even for film, TV shows. This is the exact process that happens. So I want to thank you guys who have been able to join us today. Thank you so much for sparing your 2 hours. Thank you so much for coming in. And tomorrow we are going to send you an email, an official email with tomorrow's link. And please be sure that to keep time, 10 we shall be starting. And we will be doing Foley and SFX and backgrounds And Gregory has something. I quote your note on music editing, composition, and supervising. Any notes to share on music sites and so on? Yeah. So the point here is, if you cannot afford a composer, there are free sites. Some of the sites, we normally have Pond 5. If you could go to Pond 5, but this is the culture we want to encourage. If you are able to pay Pond 5, if you're able to pay Pond 5 about $58 or about 11, they range from about $24, $58. You can negotiate with someone. You can negotiate with a composer and say, I'm going to pay you all this for about the same price, and compose for me something special. Because the beauty of having a composer is that they are accurate. They are accurate to your picture. So it is very important that you, it's very important you have someone dedicated composing the music directly to your picture. So I think it's very important for you to talk to composers, and these are things we're encouraging. We're encouraging many people to come in, and we have more composers to join us, to join the industry, not to only join Quad A, but to join the industry, start a career, and join the industry. So please, try as much as possible to divert that money in our industry, rather than paying Pond 5, paying all these different websites. Try and look out for people who can compose music for your film. I hope I've answered you, Gregory. Yep. I can use Cubase for audio or Adobe Audition. Now, if you cannot afford to get Pro Tools, if it's not in your budget right now, meanwhile you can get Pro Tools, and it's about $79 per month, or $800 a year. That means you are going to be dedicated to just work on audio post-production. You would invest that money and get yourself. But if you can't get that money right now, I would suggest that you use Adobe Audition. Adobe Audition is closer. It's closer to Pro Tools. People use Cubase. Cubase is like Logic. It is used for composing music. I would really suggest that you use more of Adobe Audition rather than Cubase. That would be my suggestion, because it is much better. It is more suited for the role of audio post-production. And if you're using Premiere Pro, or if you're using the Adobe Suite, it's a much better platform to use. So I think, with that being said, I'm really thankful for those of you who have attended. I'm really excited about our industry, about what's about to happen in East Africa. I'm looking forward to seeing many of you start careers in audio post-production, and in the entire, because there are many of us in the production phase, boom swingers, there are many production sound mixers, but we want to have many dialogue editors. We want to have Foley artists. We have to have re-recording mixers. We have to have composers come out from East Africa, and that's our dream as Quad A. So tomorrow we'll be breaking down Foley and all these different sound effects for you, backgrounds for you to be able to move, and we can build our industry together. Also, please subscribe. Please go ahead and subscribe to our channel. We'll be posting new works that we're doing and new information. And if you're interested in working together with Quad A, or if you have courses that you want to learn, just email us and we'll keep you in touch. So thank you so much, and we're looking forward to more tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye-bye.